Once a one, game twos also lose. Now time to travel night and time to travel day. Brooms have been packed, turnarounds in groups of two. Some predictions were correct, but for more, welcome to Ball is Bay, your favorite NBA podcast in an Indian accent. As always, I want to remind you to listen to us wherever your other favorite podcasts are hosted, as we are now available to listen to on all the places. Spotify, except iTunes, damn it. Okay, Spotify check, Google Podcast check, YouTube also check. That's the most checks on this show for a while. Instagram is not the podcast platform, right? Anyway, yes, coming back from that incredible first round of home games has got to be interesting as hell. Speaking of hell, I've got with me always our co-host, resident Spurs expert Vineet Devaya. Vineet, please say hi.
Hello, people.
That was a hi.
Yes.
Okay. This week again, yes, this week again, back from the that nice place of Luxembourg. How's the weather?
The weather is the best. European
Uh,
summers, especially like Western European summers, Western Central European summers, are probably
oh
the
God.
most beautiful summers that I have witnessed. It's perfect. Like this, the sun is perfect. The it's about 9 p.m. now, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like a 5 p.m. type thing. So you could like party all night and go out and stuff like that. Like it's just like pretty cool. But I can't afford going out. But I like the idea that I could go out when I have the money.
It's an enticing opportunity, an idea for anyone.
But I've also joined the gym, by the way.
Oh wow, we did not need to know that, but thank you so much.
Hey, our
But
audience needs to know. They need to connect with the hosts. They got to understand the hosts more deeply.
host deeply. Why are you like trying to lose some weight or like get fit? Which one is the?
I think both of it. Like the last time I ever like entered a gym and like worked out was back when I was playing basketball professionally,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Okay.
since then I
Wow.
haven't like really hit the gym. I used to do the gym in Alpine Eco, if you remember.
I
But
do remember. There
yeah,
was there a gym there? I
there was.
mean, were you in the gym there?
I just did like running, like cardio, but no
Walk up to the
weights.
gym and walk out of the gym. Yeah. Little cardio.
Yeah,
Weight
it's
lifts you used to do.
no weightless. I used to not do,
Uh, uh, good.
but now I shall.
Like, is there a nice workout culture in Luxembourg?
Yeah. White people like to
And
be in shape.
oh, that's
Yeah.
good. Maybe it'll inspire you also to be in shape, and maybe some of our listeners who are not in shape, they might also take it up.
Yeah, be in
Or
shape, yeah.
nothing will happen. Nothing will happen, and the Earth will just rotate the same way.
Yes, that's probably what is gonna
And
happen.
yeah, I mean, speaking of things rotating and changing, Luke Walton, new coach of the Sacramento Kings, he's
I
going to
just
be
don't
coming
get
to
it, man.
India. He's
I
going to be
don't
coming
get
to
it.
India, though.
I mean, he has not proved he's a good coach. Like he's a shitty player. I just don't get why he gets the opportunity to be a head coach. Like there are so many other assistant coaches that are really good that have been assistant
Mhm.
coaches for like 20, 30 years and they can be tapped. But I don't know why I think the assistant coaches are really happy being assistant coaches because they don't get fired that often. Like assistant coaches don't get fired that much. Whereas head coaches keep shuffling. So I think for an assistant coach to come out and be a head coach, like he or she needs to be like really looking for a change. And that's
Mhm.
why the head coaching jobs are kind of just like some of the coaches, you're just like, why did they get this guy out of college to coach like grown men? Like Billy Donovan, like I don't get why he's a head coach in the NBA. Like I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't
Okay.
spent time in the NBA like coaching adults. And there's a huge difference
Mhm.
between coaching college students and adults.
Yeah, I agree.
Adults who make 100, $200 million are not going to listen to you. So it's just a different thing. And I think Luke Walton has no respect. Like he was a shitty player. He's kind of like the Austin Rivers of the 2000s.
Uh, saying Austin Rivers is going to be a coach someday.
Oh, for
Please don't say
sure,
that.
hundred
For
percent.
sure.
His father's gonna set him up. His dad is like this, you know, in the African American culture, you have this thing about like African American men who try to be white a lot,
Uh, uh,
you know,
like an
and
Uncle Tom.
yeah, and I think like Doc Rivers is kind of like that. I think he's married to a white girl. I'm not sure,
Uh-huh.
but looking at Austin Rivers, it just seems like maybe his wife is white, and he kind of also like tries to be that way, and it's just like, you know, he's gonna set him up. He's gonna figure out a way to make Austin Rivers a coach.
That's
Good
good for
money.
Austin Rivers because I'm sure the coaches get a lot more money and respect. I mean, than he did as a player,
Yeah,
anyways.
and you know what? I mean, like all props to Austin Rivers. You know, like he may be a shitty player, but you know he's surviving. He's moved from team to team.
Yeah.
He's proved that he can
Hmm.
get you buckets. He does decent defense on because he's slightly larger than most point guards, and he's got
Hmm.
long hands and he moves quickly. So you know he does his role. He does it role fine.
Good for Austin Rivers and all the other role players on the NBA, home to the best league in worldwide sports.
Oh my
Let's
god.
come back to our main topic for this session, this little podcast. I mean, I saw very few of the games, so
Oh, you did. I saw most games.
uh,
Um,
it's almost yes.
most games, yeah.
Hmm.
And let me ask you. Let's start off with the most important series
Oh
of
God.
the NBA playoffs, the OKC
Uh-huh.
versus Portland. And let's get your,
I
because I'm sure those are the two games you have watched start to finish,
the
start to
That is
finish.
true, and I regretted watching those games because in one we just let Ennis Cantor bully us, which should never have happened, and the second one we just let Dame and CJ like do anything and everything, like shoot from anywhere, no hand in their face. It was absolutely pathetic. The only hope I have is now that we are back home, we might get one win, and it's only about like getting that little one win. If you get, I'm very confident they can get the second. If they get the second win again, it's good. But what they've played today, I think this is a very crucial series
For whom?
for Russell Westbrook, in my opinion.
Why? Because he and Paul George are signed for like long. Paul George and Steven
No,
Adams are signed for long.
I didn't mean like with respect to money. Russ is going to make his money. Paul George is going to make his money. They're like absolutely great
And they're
players
going
at
to
it.
stay in
But
OKC.
and they're going to stay in OKC also.
So
I mean,
I
more or
don't
less.
really think I think it's like growing pains in my opinion because this is just the second year they've been together,
Hmm.
right? And the first year wasn't really.
I'll tell you where I don't believe it's growing pains.
Hmm,
It's not. See, it's growing pain when you figure out one problem and then you're faced with a different problem and you're like, oh, I don't know the solution to this problem. Like OKC has been facing the same problem from last year. Last year, at least, they had Carmelo Anthony to blame. This year, they don't have anyone else to blame. And this, I mean, most of the team has been together for a while. It's just this Paul George has been reinstated as the alpha guy on the team. And I agree that's a change and it takes time to settle in. But if Russ does not figure out how to shoot less and impact the game more, not only are we going to lose the series, which, my initial prediction was 4-2 for the Thunder. I don't think that's going to happen.
no, it's
It might.
possible. It
I
can.
mean, okay, technically it is possible, but I don't think Portland has played loose this
Hmm.
series at all. So anyway, I mean, I'm going to say 4-3 to the Thunder, but uh, an accurate prediction would be more like 4-1 to the Blazers. Accurate prediction, but that's so. What I was coming back to is this being Russell's time to prove because last year he got out hustled by a rookie, and this year if he gets out hustled by someone who I've been defending Russ, saying that he's better than Damian Lillard on like I don't know multiple forums. So
Multiple forums.
if multiple forums.
Oh,
And if he does not figure out how to correct because bad shooting has always been with him, but even in those times he used to know when to take that bad shot or when to just go for it. I mean, you can't lose by 20 points to the Blazers who don't have Nurkic with them, as in they should not be
hmm.
dominating you like inside the paint and all. But yeah,
So do
so
you
you're
so do you think like
you know,
OKC got the worst of the top three players that they had drafted?
oh, you mean out of the three that they drafted?
Yeah, out of
Uh,
Harden, KD, and
Worst is disrespectful to all three because all three of them are amazing, and obviously there will be a worst of them, and there'll be a best of them. But I mean, it depends. It's a career trajectory. Like right now, you would say Durant is the better player. He obviously is, but Durant has got the rings because of the little snakishness. So where do you draw the line? I would say yeah. OKC got chances at three All Stars, three MVPs, but due to some shit that didn't happen. But yeah, uh, they better show up, or else Russ is like he. I don't think he can be a top 10 player. He can call himself a top 10 player, which I've been calling him this season. He can't be a top 10 player next year if he doesn't pull up his socks in this series. Of course, Paul
hmm.
George also had to shoot well, but Russ is the key.
But do you think like Paul George's injury is a reason for that?
Injury obviously is a reason, but that still doesn't mean that
Everyone's injured, you're
they have
saying at
to.
this point.
No, I'm not saying everyone's injured. Paul George might be injured because he keeps wincing and doing all those things when he's shooting, and he's a high volume shooter. But if Paul George's shot is not going in, that the solution to that is not Russell Westbrook also putting up 20 shots. Like he has to do one of those crazily efficient nights. He's due one.
Hmm.
Uh, but
Okay.
what
What do
about? Let me ask you about the See, the Spurs series, I still think it's, iffy. I think so Spurs should win it because they now got home court advantage. But what I'm
yeah.
interested in is the Clippers versus Warriors series
Ah.
because that has been
All
like
right.
a
I
Patrick Beverly
listen,
dog
listen,
points of
listen,
swing.
listen,
But yeah,
listen, listen, listen. I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast today,
hmm
and he was talking about how this is the most like beloved Clippers franchise, like Clippers team for like the last 20 years, and people love it, and the Warriors are going to combust internally and all that stuff, and there is some truth to each of those aspects, but let's
hmm
not get carried away. This was like the biggest comeback ever,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
And let's also not forget that the Warriors literally squashed them in game one,
Yeah,
and Warriors have squashed them throughout the season. So I get that this was a blip, and we should not overreact because the Warriors still have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Raymond Green, and Andre Iguodala, and
yeah.
you know even if they sit out KD and say, you know what, KD, you're an asshole. You're like you're doing bullshit and not really playing, which KD is not, which is very weird. He took like what 10 shots in the last game.
He got fouled out in 2 games, man. Like,
Yeah.
how do
So
you
it's just really
do
weird. I don't
that?
know why he's overreacting to Patrick Beverly,
Yeah.
and his I mean it's fine. I get it. Like maybe he's trying to distract Patrick Beverly so that Patrick Beverly doesn't get after Steph Curry. But if that's their strategy, then it's not really a very good strategy. I think they should try. I think for the Warriors, it is very important that they remain focused, get
hmm
take care of business, and be very efficient in doing it, so that they can reserve their energy for whoever comes in the finals of both the Western, and because they're going to meet Rockets next, right? And
hmm
they need to conserve their energy, and they can't be wasting it on the Clippers. So I think in that aspect, they just need to just pull up their socks and be a little bit more focused.
But but
I
don't you
don't see
think
any
it's
upset
commendable
happening.
that okay, you don't see upset, I mean, but at least
No.
like a championship. No, no, no. I'm not talking about an upset. I'm saying ki this is a team whose core ingredient has been the same for 4 years. The winning ingredient has been the same for 2 years. This is now the third year running. How do you not figure out that the Clippers want to like slow the game down, make you not run around easily, make you defend it properly, then how do you not counter attack that with something? How do you just lose
It's
because the
sometimes
opponent
just
has changed
really,
the speed?
yeah, I think it's sometimes it's just like mentally sometimes, And it has happened. Like, I'm not saying I've been in that position of playing the NBA playoffs, but
Well,
sometimes
you
I've
kind
been
of
in.
are, but
No, I've sometimes been in games where you're up like 10, 15 points, and then you just know that the other team is trash,
hmm,
right? And you're just not motivated to like finish the game,
okay.
right? And sometimes, close games are more motivating than games where you're winning by 30 points. And suddenly the momentum changes and your shots stop dropping, which is what happened to the Spurs also. The Spurs had great momentum, and suddenly the crowd got behind it. And I was watching the game, and like the crowd was just booing the refs. I don't know if you saw the game, but they just were like chanting like the refs suck, like literally the entire third quarter. And
Mm-hmm.
because of that, and the refs also did some took some had some bad calls against the Nuggets, and so to sort of circumvent that, the ref started like giving the Nuggets like more opportunities in
Oh,
terms
the
of
more
foul shots
calls.
and more calls,
Okay.
and
Uh-huh.
that just turned the game, right? And then suddenly the Spurs shots stopped dropping, and the same thing I think happened with the Clippers team too. Is this the shots just didn't fall, and they didn't feel like they felt like they're just going to win it because it's the Clippers. Who the fuck, like, I'm just, my shot is going to come, and we're just going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I think they should have just been a little bit more focused in closing out the game
Yeah.
rather than just hoping that it would just happen. Like, it was
The
just,
time would.
they can't, yeah, time was just going to,
They.
like, go by, and
Uh,
like they would not come back from a 31 point deficit. Like, that was the mentality, I think. And rather than we need to like make this a 50-point game.
mm-hmm. Got it.
But I
But
don't see any
you
upset.
don't see that now. Okay, all right. That's what we want to know at the Ball is Big podcast. Is there an upset in the working? Again, Houston is again Houston Utah is I'm sure another series that you have been disappointed by because I'm sure you
Very
expected
disappointed.
little more. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I expected the Jazz to be not let, like, Harden score at will. I mean, I felt like they're a very good defensive team. They have won since, I think, the first after the first 25 games, when they really started kind of clicking. They have won, I think, the highest number of games or something like that. The Jazz. Um,
okay.
so I was very. I think they won. I think their record after 30 games is 30. Sorry, 31, 31-11 or something like that.
Hmm.
Something like that. Like, it's crazy. Their
It's
win
a good
percentage is
record.
very high. Yeah, very very good record. So I was
Hmm.
just disappointed that they were not able to stop James Harden, at least in one of those two games. Um, but I still believe that, at home they're gonna play good defense, put a stop to James Harden and get some shots going in. Because both the games kind of just, they had no fight. Like, there
Hmm.
wasn't, they weren't breaking the runs. They didn't have runs of their own. Shots were not falling. It just was like a very bad performance.
Yeah, I mean, we expected them to at least keep it close, even though I didn't expect Utah to do anything to disturb the Rockets. I mean, Rockets are their scoring is just too good right now, and you not being able to stop Harden. What
Hmm.
about the little shimmy that he did today when he threw off
Oh,
Rubio?
that was
He
that.
did a
We
little
posted that
shimmy.
on our
I
Instagram.
I, I think that was absolutely embarrassing, man. Like you, if you do you do all this naughty, you better knock
Better
that
shoot
shot
it.
down. Otherwise,
But it's okay. I mean, I
you better
think if it
make
had
it.
shot it, it would have been like one of those epic.
Yeah,
Iverson walking
exactly. Like he
over.
missed the chance. He
Yeah,
missed the
Iverson.
chance to
Yeah.
do that.
So
Yeah,
it's okay. I
I
mean, I
mean,
think I would have taken the risk too. It's worth
I
the
mean,
risk.
I think he can do it. Like if they play two more games, he can do it to Rubio every single time. Let's like Rubio is not going to be able to stand in front of Harden.
No
So
one
I'm
can
sure
stand in
he,
front of James Harden. Yeah,
yeah, nobody can do
he's
that.
just become
So
this lethal, like, scoring machine,
mhm,
man. It's crazy.
yeah.
You have to
Uh,
appreciate
uh,
it.
Absolutely, without doubt. But what about, yes, let's go on the eastern side a little bit.
Hmm.
You have Milwaukee, Toronto, Philadelphia, Boston. I think
No
Toronto and
different.
Philadelphia are the only ones who've lost that game. I
Yeah.
didn't expect Milwaukee to lose, and after Ray Griffin has gone,
Yeah, after now,
definitely
I mean, I remember our prediction was like your
uh,
prediction was sweep, and my prediction was
sweep
4-1, giving one to Blake
because
Griffin,
of
but with
break.
no Griff.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I would say it was
Yeah.
a sweep.
Speaking of injuries, very
Hmm.
a really sad end to DeMarcus Cousins'
Fuck DeMarcus Cousins. I don't
season.
know why people give a
Mm.
shit about him. Prove it. He
But
hasn't
do you
like
think he
he.
can come back now?
I don't care. Let's move on. There are better players.
Better players than DeMarcus Cousins, man. Come on, it was.
I mean,
But
like
I'm
let's.
just scared that he won't be able to come back. As
I
in,
don't care.
it's
I
a
really
quad
don't
injury
care. He's
now.
made his money. He should learn how to save his money now. That's the important part.
Uh, he could always be a bouncer somewhere,
Yeah, I mean, I think
like
like
a 7 foot bouncer.
I don't know why people care about DeMarcus Cousins so much. He has shown no results. He's never made the playoffs. He was paired with Anthony Davis, still didn't make the playoffs. Like he made the playoffs, but like he got injured. The guy is not taking care of his health. He's I don't know. You got to hit the weight gyms, gym, strengthen your quads a little bit. Like that's listen. He's a very good basketball player, not because he has good skill set, but because he's a 7 foot monster,
Mm. Who can move
right? So, yeah, and who can move.
and
So
shoot.
so take care of the goddamn body. That's what I say. I mean, if Boban can keep playing, then so can you. Speaking of Boban, they should give Boban more chances.
They should. They try to, right? I mean, I think that Brooklyn game he played a lot of minutes. He gave
Yeah,
it to them.
he gave it to them.
But yeah, I mean, again, there also I don't see an upset hanging. I mean, they might win one more game, but Philadelphia should move through easily.
Yeah, yeah,
Like it's 1-1, but even the Toronto game, whatever happened in game one, probably an aberration. But Kawhi Leonard,
yeah.
at least in my opinion, has to score more
Oh my
than
God,
30 points for them to win.
man, Kawhi Leonard destroyed them. Destroyed them. I was watching that game. He just in the third quarter, he just said, "You know what, bitches, I'm done. We got to wrap this game
Uh,
up."
let me show you how
I
it's
think he
done.
scored like 17 or 20 points, like at a stretch.
Hmm.
I think something like that. He killed them. He just killed. Oh my God, Kawhi Leonard is so good, man. I mean, I hate to see him play not in the Spurs. Really, I hope he changes his mind and goes back to the Spurs. He's such a good player. His defense is excellent. He takes extremely like good shots, no stupid shots, very high percentage shots, and very very good player.
Please let me stop you from foaming at your mouth. Let me just put an end to that right now. Toronto and Boston. Boston again. I think Boston has now
Come
like
back.
they're getting it. Not really come back because this is a really weak Indiana team. But I think Boston has been at least solid in making sure that like they don't. If they've got a nice lead, they keep it, and there's no issues with
Well, I
just
mean, the
getting
Indiana
bored and
Pacers
things
and
like that.
Boston game, the Indiana Pacers had a 19-point lead in the
Had a
third
19
half,
point lead. Uh,
something like that. Yeah.
see. Again,
So
I think yeah. So Kyrie and Tatum did the scoring in the third
yeah,
quarter.
they
I think
they
they
kind
got
of
us back.
really took it in the third quarter.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Uh, I mean, there's no prediction change in this one either. I think it's still going to be a 4 game sweep by the Boston Celtics.
Hmm. I agree.
Hmm. Not like if it's 4-1, we're going to lose anything though.
No, nothing. But I think in the this playoffs has been much more interesting than the past 3 4 seasons. I would say
Hmm.
because one is that the East is a little bit more competitive. A little bit more competitive, and
A
the
little
East
bit, yeah.
semifinals is going to be crazy because
Oh yeah,
I can't predict
definitely.
who's going to come out of the semifinals. Really, it's just Boston, Milwaukee. I don't know. Raptors and Sixers. I really don't know. Like it's just it's never been like that before. Because you always knew
Uh-huh.
LeBron was going to come out. Like you
Exactly.
knew that LeBron was going to was going to take it. And so it's interesting that this is there, and I think also the Western semifinals is also going to be interesting because the Rockets. and the Warriors are going to meet. And I think the Rockets are ready. The Rockets know who they are,
Yeah.
and that sometimes is very important in like tough games where you like you know even today you don't know who the best player on the Golden State Warriors is. So in crunch time, who takes the shot? Like where does the ball reach? Who should you like screen to get open? All these questions still linger for the Golden State Warriors. The good part is the three people that can take the shot are amazing. So it's not like one is weaker than the other. But I
Got
think
it.
now James Harden has established himself as the man. I think Chris Paul. There was a kind of a little bit of a who's going to take the last shot kind of thing between Chris Paul and James Harden last year also. I think that's kind of
But yeah, I mean, I don't think that
eliminated.
exists now, right? Yeah. So that's that, ladies and gentlemen, for this episode of the Ball is Babe podcast. We've discussed about our predictions, updated predictions for this season, and what we think about some of the matchups which we feel are crucial. We wish Luke Walton best of luck in his journey ahead as a NBA coach, and we wish Blake Griffin and DeMarcus Cousins like a healthy recovery back. That's all
Yes.
for us. Please catch us next time for the next round of the playoffs. I think that we'll be towards the starting of the next round.
Yeah. I think we'll have a more clear idea of who's going.
Definitely. All right, then we need to say bye.
Bye.
Bye.